The UFC is facing legal action from current and former MMA fighters. But what exactly is this lawsuit all about? I'm Antitrust Collins, joined by ESPN investigative reporter John Barr. John, what is the UFC being sued for?
Well, this was an antitrust suit filed today in San Jose, California, in the Northern District of California. It's a federal lawsuit filed by three named plaintiffs. One, a fighter who's currently under contract with the UFC, Kung Lee, and two others, John Fitch and Nathan Quarry, who fought previously for the UFC. And what these fighters and their attorneys have alleged is that through a series of restrictive practices, the UFC has systematically bought out competitors and severely limited the fighters in terms of their earning potential by doing things like controlling their image rights in perpetuity worldwide and prohibiting them from seeking any kind of outside marketing deals while they're under contract with the UFC. And because the UFC has bought out so many competitors, they've essentially gotten to a point where, in the words of the lawsuit, they've monopolized the industry, they control the marketplace, and so there really isn't any option for these fighters to seek outside leverage to increase their value.
John, the UFC is a juggernaut. How tough of a fight will this be for the fighters?
Well, the UFC is a huge company. You know, in the mid-2000s, they were floundering in debt, but now they are a financial powerhouse. According to the attorneys involved, they list them as being a $2 billion outfit. Some other analysts put the figure north of $1 billion. Either way, it's a huge company. They have a staff of very skilled attorneys, and I can imagine they're going to do everything they can to fend off this lawsuit. One of the attorneys involved told me that class action lawsuits of this magnitude typically last 3 to 5 years and can cost $3 to $5 million just to litigate. So that is why a number of different law firms have signed on to the lawsuit that was filed today.
A lawsuit that's just beginning. What's next in this situation, John?
Well, the next step is for the UFC to respond, and if the case proceeds and isn't tossed out of court, the plaintiff's attorneys will be seeking to get the case certified as a class action. As of now, there are just the three named plaintiffs that I mentioned, Kung Lee, John Fitch, and Nathan Quarry. At some point, a date yet to be determined, the plaintiff's attorneys will attempt to get the case certified as a class so that other fighters, past and present UFC fighters, could then conceivably join the case and sign on. And that's what we saw happen in the concussion lawsuit against the NFL, and that's a step that has yet to occur in the painkiller lawsuit against the NFL. So it's correct to call it a class action lawsuit, but at this time, there are only three named plaintiffs in the lawsuit.
Once again, ESPN's John Barr with the perspective. Now, for John's full story on this, make sure to read about it right here on our MMA page on ESPN.com.